Hello guys, I welcome you all back. This is Get Motivated, and in the previous video we talk about the types of motivation, and in this video we are gonna continue this. Let's talk about the fear motivation. Fear motivation is a motivational type that uses consequences to drive people into action. Fear motivation can be thought of as a negative motivator, in that you aren't motivated by a reward but by the avoidance of pain or consequences. Rather than incentivizing rather than incentivize yourself or others with positive motivators, fear motivation uses punishment or negative motivators like getting fired or as a way of keep yourself productively moving toward specific goals tasks. While fear motivation sounds bad, it can actually be used as a positive. Let's take an example. If you need to get in shape, you can plan a summer pool party at your house or apartment complex and use the fear of showing up out of shape as a motivation to stick with the gym and your diet. Think of fear motivation as positive stressors and that help you outsmart your future self, overcome bad habits, and live the life you want. It's basically kind of a negative motivation that helps you in a positive way. Let's talk about the another one, which is power motivation. Power motivation is a motivational factor that says people are motivated by control over their own lives and the lives of others. Everyone wants choices, and people are often motivated to increase their overall life options and control the environment around them. For this reason, power motivation manifests itself in the desire to affect the direction of our lives and the lives of those around us. Power motivation takes to its extreme can be seen in real world horrors like Nazi Germany and other scenarios where the hunger to control outer and moral obligations or code like that. However, when scaled back, power motivation can actually be positive. And how it is? Let's take an example. While it might be bad at control others, trying to place control over your own life can be a good thing. Power motivation motivates you to be intentional in your thoughts and actions so you can manifest the life you want as it is. So, the next one is affiliation and social motivation. Humans are social creatures, and social motivation, also known as affiliation motivation, states that people are motivated by social factors like belonging and acceptance. Humans have an innate desire to connect with others, and social motivation causes us to seek connections by contributing to a social group. While it may seem internally manipulating, while it may seem internally motivating, acceptance is often the motivating factor, which isn't something you can give yourself within a group. Evolutionary psychology tells us that all humans are motivated by these social factors. For this reason, it's important to always seek new connections as well as continue to grow the connections you already have. Finding a group of people who love and accept you can motivate you to new heights and result in true happiness. So, let's talk about some motivation the athletes and sportsmen take. Like business, motivation is in sports can refer to either the team or the individual. For individual athletes, both intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation can be powerful drivers. For example, an athlete might be motivated by their desire to get better and increase their competence as well as a bonus check for winning a big game. For teams, the most common motivator is extrinsic and often centered around the shared goal of winning or imposing their will on someone else. However, teams with high chemistry can be motivated intrinsically, for example, by the shared desire to help each other succeed. The types of motivation we used to see in business. Business is a unique setting because often you are trying to motivate yourself as well as those around you. Sometimes you're trying to motivate others even more than yourself to help you achieve maximum motivation and productivity for you and your team. It's important to consider the following reasons motivation. So, what kind of motivation are we used to see in education or in the students? The types of motivation we see nowadays in educational settings, motivation is typically taught as theories rather than actionable advice. For this reason, the best types of motivation center around actual educational motivational theories such as the expectancy theory of motivation, the equity theory of motivation, and the arousal theory of motivation. Luckily, if used correctly, motivational theories can become actionable and powerful motivational drivers for yourself and the others. For more information, you can check out on the internet. So, the motivation in psychology we used to see are similar to the education and 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 in the business. Psychology and psychologists are most interested in the theories behind motivation rather than actionable advice or applied science. This is why most psychological theories are taught in education. Theories like the expectancy theory of motivation, the equity theory of motivation, and the arousal theory of motivation are the most applicable to psychology. So, what is actually a motivation? We have already talked about it. So, I'm gonna tell you the minimum definition. Motivation is heavily influenced by culture, society, and lifestyle. Different cultures have their own motivation drivers. Education, social environment, and lifestyle affected even more. So let's talk about some the example of extrinsic motivation. There are a lot of them. So let's take a first one. The sales department wasn't performing as expected. The department had decided to motivate them and promised to give a team bonus if they achieve the month's target goal. The monetary reward was inspiring. The team has reached the goal even earlier. This is the most common example of extrinsic motivation in the workplace. The second example is in the other field. John has trouble waking up on time and frequently sleeps through his alarm. As a result, he is often late to work. He's received plenty of warnings from his boss, but he still comes in late. One day, John's boss is tired of giving him warnings and tells him that the next time he is late, he'll be fired. John knows he needs the job and the money and resolves to be on time from then on. So, what is the basic differences between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, the internal or the external motivation? So in the intrinsic motivation, we used to see that there are positives and negatives, and it is same as in the external motivation. But in the internal motivation comes from the inside, and the external motivation comes from the outside or the objects like material things or status and etc. In the one hand, hard to stimulate or foster the motivation itself. On the other hand, the reward is an automatic booster in the external motivation. In the internal motivation sustained for a longer time, but the external motivation limited hold on the individual. The first one hard to apply to a group or an individual, but the second one easy to apply to a group or any individual. So there are lots of types that we just talked about in the previous video and recently. So let's move forward and talk about the types of extrinsic motivation that are motivation for employees. As an employee in the business world, there is a need to be both internally and externally motivated. In fact, there is also a need कर दे अगर बंद ये तो ऐसे था